Good morning, everyone, and welcome on this beautiful morning to our webinar co-hosted by Pkf Ignite and SearchKings Africa. It's a great pleasure to welcome you. I see we still have a few people joining, so while I do the intro, they're not going to miss out on too much important. I would like to just quickly introduce myself. My name is Theo Vermaak. I'm the chairman of Pkf South Africa. Paddock very kindly listed me as a co-founder of Pkf Ignite. I think that's probably slightly overstated, and I'll come back to Paddock a little bit later on. I also have the rare pleasure in COVID-19 times to be the owner of a bar and a restaurant and a distillery. As you all know, it's not the best time to be in that business. So hopefully, like you, I'm very, very keen to learn from Brett this morning and to find out how we can change some of our strategies in order to be more relevant in this day and age. In terms of housekeeping, we are going to kick off with a fairly short presentation. We're going to keep it fairly casual, discussion-based, and then a bit of Q&A at the end. If you do have questions, you are very welcome to pop them into the chat box. We will be monitoring those questions throughout. We'll monitor the content of the questions and probably get to them towards the end of the webinar. As a little bit of encouragement to stay on until the end, Brett will be sharing a little special offer with us. We do really want to make today practical. We want to give you practical takeaways to walk away from here and really be able to start making a difference in your business. And Brett is going to end with a special offer towards the end. I think it's fair to say that digitalization was probably on every business's agenda in some form or another before March 2020. And one of the challenges we often experience when talking to our clients is just where to start and what exactly does it mean. And from our own experience, I remember when I started with Pkf, I often heard the comment that we needed a technology strategy. And if you ask the question, well, what does that mean and where do we need to invest? You don't get many answers. So I think the real difficulty is to understand where to start. We sort of, went to bed on the 26th of March, 2020. And I think it's fair to say we woke up and it was 27 March, 2030. So for many businesses, we found that all of a sudden we had to really accelerate what digitalization meant to us. And the initial response, of course, was to make sure that we could work remotely, that you could keep your business running, that you can keep your people motivated. And that's something that a lot of businesses really just had to jump up and do. And in many ways accelerated what many of them were probably working on anyway. Now it's a bit of a time for us, I think, to stand back and to look maybe at broader objectives, broader strategy. Many people are starting to ask the question, well, what next? What do we really need to do now? The reality has sunk in. We really need to do something. So digitalization is firmly back on the agenda and equally going online. Just as an example, in my own business, we, as part of the lockdown regulations and the limitations of selling alcohol, and then of course it opened up, and we decided to build an online store. So for us, it meant being online and being accessible to our customers. The problem with that is we built the online store, but then we didn't know how to get people to go there. And I sincerely hope that Brett can help me with that today. When we speak to customers and you talk about being online, and we will be asking some of these questions during the course of the presentation, what does being online mean to you? Some say, well, I've got a website. Okay, that's cool. Does it help you? Does it actually contribute to your business? I'm active on social media. But I think one area that people often forget is just other aspects of our business, your accounting. In this day and age, if your business is online in terms of your accounting, you would have experienced the benefits of being there. So to help you start or perhaps accelerate your digitalization journey today, I think the one thing we really want to emphasize is the importance of data. And the one area that we want to explore today is how you can use data and how important it is, specifically when it comes to your accounting, your back office operations, and then very specifically on your marketing. So I'm joined today by Paddock Vasovic. Paddock is a partner at Pkf Octagon in Johannesburg. And he is, as I said, listed as the co-founder of Pkf Ignite, but I think together with him and Nicole Rousseau from his firm, that it's fair to say that they're probably the founders. Paddock is sincerely passionate about business. He's passionate about small business. He's a great friend to his clients. And he shares a rare distinction with Brett Pearlstein, our main presenter today. Neither of them are what I would call typical accountants. I hate that term, but I think it's fair to say that neither of them are that. Brett is the founder of SearchKings Africa. Brett is a Pkf alumnus. He did his training at Pkf in Cape Town. That's where I know Brett from. And then I had the rare pleasure of living and working in New York for some time. And in around 2012, Brett and his now wife, Kerry, spent some time in New York. And we shared some very special experiences visiting some amazing restaurants and bars. And I think to some extent talking about our dreams and our hopes for the future. And I think Brett will expand on that a little bit later when he talks a bit more about his journey to how he got to today. So without any further ado, I would like to kick off and hand over to Waldeck. Waldeck's going to talk to us a little bit about Pkf Ignite. It's our bespoke cloud-based service offering, which really is designed to help your business become digital when you look at your accounting functions. Waldeck, over to you.
Thanks. Thank you, Theo, and thanks for the kind introduction. I think, guys, if we maybe think of Pkf Ignite or cloud accounting, my view is we've got to go back. We've got to go back to around 97, 98, 99. And, depending on your age where you were, I started working at that point in time. I was still studying, and I just said, I need to get serious about life. I was a waiter, bartender, and then I said, no. More my dad said, no, you got to get serious about life. And I got a bookkeeping job and an accounting job. And I remember going to clients, and it was at that special time when the software called Pestle came out. And it was this new hot topic. Everyone was talking about Pestle and how the software, when you put it on your 386 or 486, or if you were lucky, a Pentium computer, how it would revolutionize your small business. And I remember going to a lot of small clients then with a bookkeeping firm that I was working for. And, we were hearing a lot of resistance. Bookkeepers were saying, why do I need to move my business into digital? I've got this book, I've got a ledger, I've got my Lotus 123 spreadsheet or Excel spreadsheet. Lotus was big in those days. And in many ways, what I'm finding is that we are facing the same conversation now, 20 years down the line. When you look at businesses that simply evolved onto Pestle and moved on, they loved it. There were a couple of businesses that did it early. A lot of guys did it in the middle, and then you had those late adopters in the end. But the conversation very quickly swung from, well, why should you go into a computer to do your accounting, to why are you not on the computer? And I think we've had the same shift, from about 2016 up to 2020, there's been this migration onto the cloud. And initially, cloud was this big concept. It was more this ethereal thing. No one really knew what it was, but everyone spoke about it. So a couple of years back, spotting a similar trend, we said to ourselves, because we represent such a big client base in terms of small businesses, that it's really our duty to get our heads around this cloud. It's really our duty to get our heads around the app ecosystem, because this was now the second migration. I think from 97 to 2015, 16, we've had an advancement in IT infrastructure technology. Software was developing, but the common thread was that your software was still on your laptop or on your server. So you were always localized in terms of your data. So the idea for Pkf Ignite was really born out of the necessity for the market to evolve, a 20-year-old concept, and that's what it was. So we then wanted to also package our offering and go beyond just giving our clients one app and being a software reseller. So I think from a concept point of view, Pkf Ignite is a platform as a service. We're not selling software to our clients. We're not a software reseller. Our idea is that we want to provide an ecosystem of the latest apps to our clients, which I'll go to later. And I think, why do we want to move into cloud? Because that's usually the question is, current software works well. Whatever I'm on, if I'm on Sage or I'm on QuickBooks and I'm not in the cloud, why should I move? And I think this slide, thanks Brett, really illustrated very well. Your traditional accounting model is very linear, and it's based on gatekeepers. So when you look at it, and a gatekeeper in my mind is very similar to, if you go back and maybe think of, watching a series, and those old school series, and you see a castle, and then you see that little moat, and people have to go onto that bridge, and then someone opens up the gate and lets the people in. It's exactly the same with traditional models. You have gatekeepers. So in an old model, all of these documents, invoices, bank statements, payrolls, reimbursements, they had to go through your bookkeeper or accountant. Your bookkeeper and accountant had to take all that information and funnel it through themselves, process it manually, and put it into your accounting system. And then your accounting system would spit out a variety of information: trial balances, management accounts, reports. Then those would be given to the business owner, who would then disseminate the information. He would read it, or if not, most of it didn't make sense because it was too detailed. And then he would give that information to the banks, to management, to shareholders. And the model worked well. But if you look at what's happened with small business at the moment, the complexity of small business, the speed of small business, and the integrated requirement for things like funding, for decision-making, this traditional model was really becoming redundant because things were just taking too long. And I always look at the example of management accounts. Your business owner needs to raise funding. He phones the bank, and the bank says, I need these things called management accounts. And the business owner then calls his bookkeeper, who phones his auditor or accountant, says, I need management accounts. And there's this massive scramble to produce something that's already 3 months old and outdated. So the systems, the old models, were simply not efficient enough and not quick enough to allow business owners to make timeless decisions and to use information to be future thinking. And traditional models are very retrospective, and that's always been the challenge. And in this current environment filled with volatility, uncertainty, we need to be future forward as much as we can and not be looking at numbers from 6 months ago. So the cloud model, what it allows you is your information is centralized in one repository. And what it allows is for a variety of different inputs to all simultaneously feed into your system, and then for that information to be disseminated to different users at the same time. So the benefit of it is that from a business owner's point of view, and if we're looking at it now, you don't really need to go back to your office for your books to be done. And a lot of the low-level tasks can be automated and improved so that you're not spending your fees with your accountant on processing data. You're spending the fees with your accountant on interpreting the data, and accountants are now becoming business partners to clients, helping them make future decisions and not looking at things that are 8 or 10 months old. So that's really why we want to move you onto the cloud. And also what the cloud does is, because you're not going through things like servers and VPNs, it allows for much easier links between different apps and different products. So all of a sudden we can link your bank account to your accounting system. So the moment that your transaction hits your bank account, it feeds into your accounting system. We can link up your document storage system with your accounting system through all the APIs, which then automatically update your transactions. So the moment you get your telecom account sent to your inbox, that telecom account is in your accounting system. And that just speeds up everything. And it makes we rely on automation to take the low-level tasks and do them automatically. And it also reduces your human error. And then what we do is we plug in an ecosystem of reporting apps that helps us to then give you better reporting tools and better reports that you can make better business decisions. Maybe, Brett, if we can just move on to the next slide. So if we look at the Pkf Ignite ecosystem, and it's an ever expanding ecosystem, And I've just provided here with an outline of a couple of apps that we use. We do use more. We went out and curated an ecosystem of apps that we believe are the best in those fields. And so we tried to cover all the bases for our clients. So what we started out with a document storage system. And we said to our clients, you don't need to store your documents in files. Those days are gone. We need a document storage system that will pull the information in. It will read that information. It will self-populate and start computer machine learning as to what that invoice is saying and pushing it into an accounting system. Then we went and we looked at accounting systems, and we've partnered with Xero. We also have Sage as a partner as well. And we have worked with an accounting system that is very open and can accept a lot of other systems plugins so that we can have a rich ecosystem of data within your accounting system. And then we've looked at your payroll. We use Simple Pay or PaySpace. And then we've partnered up with our fintech lending part of Bridgement, because a lot of our clients need access to finance. And on our previous webinar, we had a whole discussion about the failure of the banking system to provide SMEs with financing tools. So we wanted to find those solutions. And we've just done the same with our inventory management systems. And in terms of reporting, we've partnered up with Spotlight, because the reports is really what a business owner needs, right? Reports are the tools that a business owner would use to run his business. So Brett, for example, doesn't really care about the nitty-gritty of the accounting system, and neither does Theo. What they really care about is the outputs. Am I making money? Am I not making money? How's my bank account looking? Have I got problematic debtors? What are the roadblocks to success? And how am I tracking maybe to last year? How am I tracking to my budget? That's all I really need to know. I don't need to know the nitty-gritties of everything underneath. And I think that's the beauty of the cloud system, is that we can produce different dashboards and different layouts of reports for different users. And because with cloud accounting, you don't pay per user licenses, we encourage more people to get involved in a book, so that even a business owner who traditionally would never log into Pastel or into any other computer-based system, we can now build a dashboard that speaks to you as a business owner, and it doesn't drown you in information, which, to be honest, a lot of business owners find meaningless. So that's really the Ignite ecosystem in a nutshell.
Wow, Paddock. I mean, thank you so much for that. And I think back to my Pkf audit days. If only systems like that were around, I think we could have been hell of a more efficient and offered far more of a consultative solution to our customers back then. And as a business owner myself, I can't echo those. That I am a CA. I know my accountant Lizelle is on the call as well, and I think the insights she's been able to build in terms of dashboards and helping me get a bird's eye view of how I'm tracking with high level data in real time has really been fundamental to the success of my business. So without further ado, it's so wonderful to be here, and I can't thank Theo and Waldeck for the kind words. And it's great to be back at the firm that I first cut my teeth in when I began my career all those years back as an accountant. Today, I'm just excited to be here to, just like Waldeck did, to share with you just how you can future-proof your business online and get real-time data and digitally transform the way you work in order to make smarter business decisions. So as the guys have said, by way of introduction, I'm Brett Perlstein, ex-Pkf alum, chartered accountant by profession, and Google Ads professional by trade. I've always been passionate about small to medium-sized businesses and how they can unlock power in their business through data. So let's kick things off with a quote by the famous composer Duke Ellington. He once said, "I don't need time, I need a deadline." And this deadline, like Theo said, came for our country with regards to digital transformation on the 26th of March 2020, when our president sent us straight into stage 5 lockdown. Kelly, I think he's going to kick off a poll for us all now. And guys, please note that the poll is completely anonymous. So we urge you to share and share openly, just so we can get a feeling from the crowd on your thoughts. So, the first poll is up, and it's, have you thought about digital transformation in your business? So what did this lockdown do? Well, it made business owners scramble to find out new ways that how they could do business online. And this became a key driver in the great acceleration towards digital transformation in business. Business owners did what they can, scrambled, and they really tried their best to survive what was globally being donned as a crisis. But guys, the results are in, and 78% of you have thought about digital transformation. Okay, so guys, but what happens if I got you to change your thoughts, and instead of seeing this crisis, this pandemic as a crisis, you rather changed your mind and saw this crisis as the biggest gold rush we're going to see in our lifetime, where every business is out there to stake their claim. Since lockdown has began, we've learned two things. One, that old ways of work don't work anymore. And two, in this normal we found ourselves in, we may never go back to the way things were. In this gold rush, more and more people are spending more time at home and online, and we're getting more and more comfortable buying goods and services digitally. So the time to think about digital transformation and moving marketing budget online really is right now. Through the conversations I've had with north of 250 customers we've serviced, I've donned a phrase over the last few weeks with business owners, and I've said to them, you need to come to terms with the fact that in some way or other, you're an online business. And if you think you aren't, well, guess again. So why am I telling you all of this? I thought I'd give you a little bit of background. As Theo said, born and bred here in Johannesburg, just up the road from the Pkf offices. I started my career as an accountant and qualified as a chartered accountant, and spent almost 5 wonderful years with the firm in Cape Town. And I was lucky enough to, whilst at the firm, I serviced small to medium-sized businesses. I honed in on my business acumen and consultative background before I was lucky enough to be given the opportunity to move with the firm to the Big Apple, New York City. Whilst I was over there, as Theo said, he was spending some time there. We became good friends and shared some incredible experiences and ate at some of the finest restaurants and best wine bars in the city. And Theo always spoke about his entrepreneurial dream. Well, we both did, for that matter. And he said one day he's going to come back and start this hybrid wine bar meets tapas bar somewhere back in South Africa. And true to form, he's living proof of, if you set your goals and dreams, you can reach them in the end. And for all of you who haven't been down to Belito, to Theo's shop, Alchemy, he really needs your support right now. And I can guarantee you, having eaten with Theo at some of the best establishments in New York, his rivals, all of them. So after a year in the US working as an accountant and gaining some much needed international professional experience, I sadly fell prey to what I now like to call a visa whoopsie. This led me across the border to Canada, while American immigration lawyer worked on my American dream. Sadly, things didn't work out as I'd hoped, but be it by divine intervention or fate, I landed up meeting my existing and still long-standing business partners at a dinner one Friday night. A couple dog walks, a few whiskeys later, my partner invited us to come spend some time in their office in downtown Toronto. And I watched how, through their technology and the power of paid Google advertising, they helped business owners unlock incredible value in their business and generate quality inbound leads online. Being analytically minded and having consulted to this sector of the market previously, my attraction to the business and Google ads was instant. I mean, some have even said it was love at first sight. So as Theo said, I had to do a bit of reevaluation of some personal and professional goals and tweak a few plans, and heavily negotiated with my then girlfriend, Kerry, and now wife and mother of my child. And to cut a long story short, I hopped on a plane, their IP, the brand, and my entrepreneurial dream under my arm, and the rest, as they say, is history. So I now get to wake up with a massive smile on my face, and I come into, I used to come into this beautiful office of mine. It's now been empty for 4 months as my team works remotely. And I get to, spend some time with my 14 incredible staff, all who are certified Google Ads experts, and we help local businesses unlock their true potential online. SearchKings as an agency is a global Google Premier Partner, which is the highest designation held by Google. And we have over 4,000 customers around the globe and 250 locally in almost every industry. As a group, we have 65 certified Google Ad professionals, and we've seen some incredibly interesting online data points since the start of this global pandemic. You know, we're perceived by most as an online advertising agency, but we're really not a jack of all trades. We're a master of one, choosing not to focus on every touch point in the world of digital marketing, but solely focusing our efforts on helping businesses generate leads online through the power of paid Google marketing. So whenever we talk to business owners, they fall pretty much into one of three camps. They have heard about Google advertising and they've thought about it, but haven't quite actioned it. They have taken that first step and opened the digital door and are doing it themselves. Or the last camp where they realize maybe this is a bit too complex for me and they've hired an agency. So what I thought I'd share with you, some practical tips and some lessons on our journey to this point, and hopefully it'll help you learn how you can grow a successful business online, irrespective of which camp you fit in. So let's look at the tools within Google's network that are at your disposal. And I'm going to try and, you know, coming from an accounting background and having zero marketing professional training up until this point, I always look to find ways that I can relate these products to things you all well know and love. So Google Search, the homepage of Google, the ultimate deity where we all go with our questions looking for answers. Think of this as an online salesperson in your business that never sleeps, never gets sick, doesn't have to quarantine, never has to fetch the kids from school, but rather is always there in a potential customer's moment of intent. Then we look at display advertising, your digital equivalent to out of home. These are more like digital billboards or flyers that you would print, but they just appear to potential customers as they surf the web. Then YouTube, which we'll dive a little bit deeper further in the presentation, and one of my personal favorites. It's the modern day equivalent of TV and radio. Then Google My Business, the world's greatest online business directory, and your pin on Google Maps that we've all used multiple times on a daily basis. And the last thing, echoing Valdek's points, is Google Analytics, the data that underpins all these solutions. And more than anything, and all these tools, the data that you get to understand from these tools will help you better understand your business, your industry, and your audience online. As a chartered accountant and a numbers guy, this is really up my alley. And ultimately, it's how this data drives bottom line growth and how we can use this data to assist businesses unlock their potential online that really gets me up in the morning. So, you know, I started this performance marketing agency and we took a unique approach in how we wanted to position ourselves in the market. I actually don't hire anyone from a marketing background. You know, we've hired engineers, accountants, an MBA, and even a rally driver to boot to assist our customers on this journey. Google marketing is a data-driven solution, and I truly believe there's an assault on marketing right now. It's no longer about pretty pictures, but more about data and how you interpret it. Marketing is no longer a place only for creatives, but rather engineers, accountants, MBAs who live and breathe these numbers, and they can help understand the commercial viability of these numbers and how to interpret that data in real time. And I think this, coupled with cloud accounting, it's no longer a retrospective look at business at your business months back, but rather a real-time agile way to keep close to the numbers as the business owners and make smarter business decisions. So let's talk about this data. I thought I'd share some interesting data points that we've been given and some trends in Google search data since lockdown began on the 26th of March that were shared with us by our partners at Google. Some of these are incredibly obvious and some of them less obvious, but what these graphs show is the increase in search volume in Q1 versus Q2 this year. The first one, really interesting and pretty sad, the volume of search queries for loans in South Africa has increased by more than 9,000%. Next one, food delivery up by 5,500% as more people, fear the transmission of the COVID virus and ultimately digitally transform the way they shop for basic groceries online. The next one, you know, as a husband, I think the husbands in the crowd can probably relate. DIY and renovations up by 3,000%. You know, I think a lot of people are spending more time at home and trying to tick those things off the list that the wife has had for them for the past 10 years and learning how to do them on YouTube or on Google. Then personal and business storage queries up by 2,000% as people spending more time at home, try to get rid of that clutter. People maybe potentially downsizing their offices as their teams start to work remote. No real surprises there. The ones that I think are a little bit less obvious, you know, everyone thought that the automotive industry was destined for doom and gloom. But interesting enough, in Q2, search queries for secondhand or used motor vehicles are up by over 9,000%, by 900%, as I think more people who were maybe on the fence or using public transport are now thinking, maybe it's time for me to get that car I've been eyeing. And then the last one, in an industry that's been absolutely decimated by this COVID-19 virus, travel and adventure travel specifically up by 350%. You know, I think we can all relate to this as we spend time at home. We work harder, we work harder and spending more time in our jobs and, you know, no time really to take a holiday. I think a lot of people are really dreaming about those bucket list adventures that they'd always wish they'd taken. So what I want you to think about this is think about your behavior now and all the time you're spending online and at home. Do you think you've potentially missed a major marketing opportunity in your business? Next up is YouTube. And we've seen some incredible engagement on YouTube, and the numbers are quite staggering over the last quarter. With you know, 21.7 million users actively on the platform in a given month at any given time. What happens if I told you you could reach 65% of the South African online audience on this platform? Could this potentially spell the death of radio or TV advertising as we know it? You know, and think about that and how that would make you think differently. I spent a bit of time this week reading up on some of my marketing idols, and Byron Sharp, who's widely regarded as one of the kings of branding, said YouTube is the first global ad-supported TV station where any business can reach their goals and gain their reach on this platform simply because of its accessibility and its volume of users. Now let's talk about Google marketing. Well, Google marketing is quite interesting. It actually flips marketing as we know it on its head. It's no longer about you actively going looking for the customers, but rather the customer now comes looking for you. This direct response marketing channel is always there in the user's moment of intent. You know, the longer you aren't there, the longer customers go looking for you and you aren't on the homepage of Google, the quicker you're out of sight and out of mind. So I thought I'd share some insights across our portfolio of north of 250 customers about, you know, just the bravest customers among us. And I think all of us as business owners and potentially as accountants know that when hard times come, we need to do some aggressive budget cutting. And I think traditionally the first line item on the income statement to go is your marketing costs. But ultimately, if you're losing customers, if you're on a negative downward trend, how do you fill up that funnel if you're not going to spend money on marketing? And those customers within our network who are brave enough to keep marketing online during this time are seeing lower marketing costs, cheaper acquisition costs, greater brand reach and frequency, and a much bigger share of voice actually on a smaller budget. As a data dude myself and my team coming from that background, we thought, well, when was the last major economic crisis? And let's try and corroborate these trends to what happened back in 2008. So we read a few Harvard Business Reviews, and we actually saw that there was quite a bit of succinctness in the view of what happened then. Brands in 2008 that took brand building specifically online and took a longer term view on it and held their nerve, had greater brand recall, bounced back faster, hit sales targets quicker, and exceeded their competition whose initial knee-jerk reaction was to cut their marketing spend. You know, these firms, these studies ranged from Starbucks all the way to construction firms. So I think the key message here is that, like, you know, have we potentially, you know, cutting our marketing spend, is that the greatest error we make as business owners when times get tough? So a personal anecdote, I actually had my first son just a few hours before lockdown began, and I've donned him the last baby born in the free world. And please God, one day I'm hoping to sell his story to Hollywood and monetize him a bit. But the interesting thing about this, about being born at this time, is not since World War II has a global pandemic had such an impact on so many lives. It's really an exciting time for him to be born, because the whole world is learning to adapt as we learn and relearn new tricks, and he gets to learn for the very first time. So ultimately, I think no one has a head start. So I think the key lesson here is it's time to adapt or get left behind. So this guy, another entrepreneurial hero of mine, and a real local trailblazer in the world of tech. This is Robert Paddock, the founder of a local business called Get Smarter, a online digital education business, which he sold to a US conglomerate in 2018 for 1.4 million rand. He's really one of the only true tech unicorns in the country. He's now just started a business called the Valencia Institute, which is the first global digital high school, which is really, really interesting. But he did a Heavy Chef presentation a few weeks ago, and I urge all of you that don't follow Heavy Chef to do it, because there's some really inspiring tips out there for entrepreneurs. But he said one major thing. He said COVID-19 is not creating new trends. All it is doing is accelerating existing trends so much faster. So what I want to leave you with before we hop into some practical applications here is, in a world of digital transformation, cloud accounting and Google advertising are not new concepts. They've both been around, at least Google's been around for the past 20 years. Just now more than ever, they need to form a bigger part of your business and marketing and customer acquisition strategy, as going online, having data in real time, and understanding your business and having that data at your fingertips is now more important than ever. So I wanted to just welcome Theo back and Waldeck back. Hey, boys.
Thank you, Brett. Yeah, hey, thanks very much, man. Brett, we've had a couple of questions sort of pop up during the course of your chat. So hopefully we've answered those to your satisfaction, guys, in the chat box. If we haven't, you feel free to submit a follow-up question, and I'll get back to those a little bit later. Brett, you know, when we spoke about this, and you know, I mentioned in my introduction the thought that's been on so many businesses' minds, and we actually had a question about what digitalization means, etc. And then, you know, specifically looking at marketing and these sort of imperatives that you've shared with us, and I think the realization that, you know, this is not a time to be sitting back. You know, it really is something that businesses need to address. As difficult as it is to start, when businesses start, I feel that we often make mistakes. You know, like I've made mistakes with my business. You know, I mentioned at the beginning, you know, you build an online store and it's like, well, okay, what now, you know? So what are some of the common mistakes that you've seen businesses make in their efforts to go online?
Yeah, Theo, I mean, that's something we talk to business owners every single day. So I think, you know, having connected with multiple businesses across every industry, I think they're like, you know, I really want to talk to 3 real simple applications that these don't cost an inordinate amount of money, and they're a great gateway to kind of get you online and start thinking about how you future-proof your business. The first one is seeing websites that are not mobile responsive. Ultimately, you know, people are going to say, what does mobile responsive mean? Well, essentially, mobile responsive means the ability for your website to resize itself depending on the device that it's on. In South Africa, 65% of all search queries and website traffics come to websites via the mobile phone. So to ensure your business is scaled for this is fundamentally important. I'll quickly dump through, you know, how do I know if you're in Google Analytics, if I do have a mobile responsive problem and my website's not working on mobile, and maybe, you know, if you were to hop into Google Analytics and look under the mobile tab, what you can see is you can see the split between how much traffic you're getting on a mobile device versus on a desktop. In this example, you can see that 55% of the traffic to this website is coming from a mobile device, but sadly only 27 seconds is how long people are hanging around versus the almost 3 minutes on a desktop. The next thing that's really worrying in this example is that, like, the mobile website is not converting at all. So there are no key call to actions that are being actioned upon by users when they're there. So, you know, the next piece of, so clearly we have a problem. The next thing you would go and do is kind of look at how is this website loading on a mobile device versus desktop. And as you can see here, this website loads in almost 14 seconds on a mobile device. And I don't know about you, but time is money, and I wouldn't hang around for 14 seconds waiting to get some information. So, you know, but fear not, guys. I mean, the good thing here is, and Kelly will share these links afterwards, is that Google has some amazing free tools like this mobile-friendly responsive test that you can literally pop your URL in, and it'll give you some really simple, you know, how-to guides that you and your web developer can adjust in order to get your website geared and ready for mobile traffic.
And Brett, funny enough, you know, from even in an industry like ours, which is, you know, because I think that maybe some people think, well, our industry, people don't browse on mobile because we are a traditional industry. And it's interesting because we've also seen that the numbers of mobile searches is astounding. And as you say, it's almost, you almost want to build, I mean, at some point, when do you start almost building mobile first, right? And not desktop first?
That's, I mean, and that you nailed it on the head there, Valdic. I think we need to build with the end in mind, and mobile first marketing, especially on the African continent, has to be front and center of your thoughts and planning.
Brett, I'll just share the visits to the PKF website in the last quarter was more than 50% with mobile.
There we go. So point in case. The next one, and I think, you know, I want to leave some time for Q&A and some stories. So we're going to fly through.
So just to come back to the previous point, that type of data that you just showed us, is that something that if a business is engaging with a partner, the marketing partner should be providing that data on a monthly basis?
I mean, never mind on a monthly basis, Valdic. It should be in real time. So, like, you know, it can be less, as with cloud accounting, it should be less retrospective and more in real time. And ultimately, you know, if you're armed with that data, you should be able to make smarter business decisions. Right. The next one, I think, you know, Theo's got an interesting story we chatted about a couple nights ago with this is Google My Business. And I think this is a tool that, like, most business owners overlook and really, you know, get wrong. And it's so simple to execute on. All this is ensuring that your business has its position on the Google map. And all you need to do to find out if you have this in your business is go and Google your business, click on the maps part of Google. And if you see this, own this business, there's a high probability that you don't own your own listing or you haven't registered your business on Google. And I think, you know, Theo, maybe you want to share, you know, a customer story that you guys had with the bar.
It was pretty embarrassing. We shortly after we opened, and you know, very proudly built our website, and you know, got all sorts of things going. The managing partner from Pkf in Cape Town was actually down in Ballito and wanted to visit us, and you know, didn't contact me for the address. Looked us up online, and I got this very panicked phone call at sort of dusk. From Derek saying, are you guys out in the sugarcane? And, you know, and it was plausible because we also have a distillery and we market the fact that we use sugarcane in our distilling process. So it was fairly plausible. And he'd taken his little hired car, which I always say is the best car in the world because I go anywhere. But he'd taken his little hired car out into the sugarcane fields and was, you know, probably about, I think, 10 kilometers off the highway in completely the wrong direction at that stage. And it was the first time that I realized that, you know, this was something I had to actively manage. I just had no idea.
Yeah. I can tell you Theo's restaurant's in a beautiful strip mall in Ballito. I mean, even, you know, that doesn't take away how picturesque it is just because it's not in the sugar fields.
I assume, Brett, it's basically when you go back 20 years ago, if you were not in the yellow pages, it was a big thing. And I remember even when I was starting out, the partners were speaking about, you know, updating your details in the yellow pages. And I think this is really just the new yellow pages, right? You need to be here. It's a no-brainer.
It's a no-brainer. And as I said earlier, is that, like, the longer you aren't here, you really become out of sight and out of mind. And I think this is the, you know, the saying that you're leaving lunch on the table. You're leaving your lunch on the table for somebody else to eat. Really is the message we want to impart here. And then the last thing, this kind of speaks to the camp that have either are are doing Google advertising themselves or hired an agency, I think the number one thing people like to do is go and bid on their own brand name. And ultimately, if what you want to use Google advertising for is to help get your brand in front of new eyeballs, and like bidding on your own name and getting all this traffic for people who know you already is kind of almost an antiquated way of marketing. You really want to use this channel to try and get your brand in front of new eyeballs. And we see this often, that 80% of their marketing budget goes to really buying traffic that they would have got anyway. All right, Theo?
Yeah, Brett, we, again, just using an example from our own business, we started right from the beginning, decided to use experts to help us manage things like our social media, etc. Worked with people for search engine optimization on our websites and so on. But I realized, increasingly, and even in our PKF life, I don't know whether the people I'm paying to do this job for me are doing a good job. And I think more importantly, they will always tell me that they're doing a good job because they show you all these stats and they show you, lots of information. But I don't really know if I'm asking the right questions or if they're answering the right questions. So how do business owners empower themselves to know what the critical questions are to ask?
And I think this is something that we see all the time. And I don't know if Theo or Valdic are golfers, but I mean, it kind of brings me back to a saying that you drive for show and you putt for dough. I mean, ultimately, being empowered as a business owner to know this is a data-driven exercise. And as Valdic said, you don't want to get stuck in the weeds and nitty-gritty. I don't care, if my telecom invoice arrived on time, and I want to know high level, just as you would in your accounting package, what are the impact metrics that empower me as the business owner to really make smarter business decisions? And what we see all the time is agencies saying to guys, I grew my website traffic by X%, or your ads were shown this many times, or I had this many clicks, or I helped reduce the bounce rate on your website by 20%. But ultimately, none of those vanity metrics really make the phone ring and help your and help drive bottom line growth. So the key things you want to be looking at and the questions you want to be asking your agency is well, how much am I paying for a lead online? Or what is my share of voice in relation to my competition? And last but not least is how many leads am I getting by channel? So you can understand, is Facebook, LinkedIn, Google, email marketing, which one of these channels are more successful for your business? Because that mix is always going to change. There's not one glove from a digital marketing perspective that fits every hand.
Thanks, Brett. We've got a few questions coming in, and I'm mindful of time, so I would like to answer those. But I do think it's also important because you've got some, I think just two very practical examples. So if you can quickly share those with us, just what has worked and how have people used data in their businesses in order to actually pivot what they do.
Yeah. So I think just two really quick practical examples. This is of a local homemade ice cream store that we worked with that. We started buying traffic for them and starting to see how and analyzing the leads that were coming in from this traffic. And what we found is that there were tons of people not only looking for ice cream, but calling and looking for ice cream cakes. And we listened to their phone calls and looked at their leads, and all their salespeople were saying, we don't really do ice cream cakes. Phone the Tunny down the road and she'll help you. And we kind of said to them, guys, you have this access to data, build a mold, put 3 tubs of ice cream in, and now, ice cream cakes account for 30% of their annual revenue. So, which is data they would not have had if they weren't using this smart data to crowdsource what people actually wanted from their business. The last one is of a shared office space company that they had 3 locations they were looking to buy in terms of their next building. And what we did is geographically located campaigns in those 3 key areas and built essentially a black book of leads for them prior to making that purchasing decision. And through this data, this actually was the main lever and driver for them deciding on which building in which geographical area to buy, purely based on the leads that were available.
Thanks so much, Brett. One thing is abundantly clear, and that's that I need you in my life. I think beyond sharing the odd drink and a nice meal.
Yeah.
Brett, we've got a couple of questions which I would like to get to, and I think they will resonate with everyone. One of the questions, this is from Paul Gearing, is what sort of budget is needed for effective Google marketing and assistance from yourselves?
Yeah, it's always a tough question. It is how long is a piece of string, and Paul, it really depends on the industry you're in. But I think it's a misconception. You know, we get this call every day. Hi there, I'd like to do some Google marketing. I have 500 Rand. What can I get? And I was like, a meal for 4 people at the Spur. Other than that, nothing on Google. So I think what's very important here is, guys, like, you know, generally our average customer spends anywhere between 8 to 15,000 Rand a month. But, you know, the way we position this is less about a marketing cost and more about an inbound lead generation cost. So because you're getting access to so much data and you can track everything far better than you could with a flyer or a billboard, really understanding, you know, how this marketing cost can be directly translated from a return on investment perspective is just the mindset shift one has to go through when thinking about this, not as a line item cost, but rather as a cost of sales, and bringing that into your thinking at the top of the balance, at top of the income statement.
But I think, sorry, Baltic, I think the key is also that it's not just about spending; it's about tracking the success of that spending.
Completely.
And that is where I think a lot of businesses, you know, fall flat, because we're spending some of that money anyway, right? Sorry, Baltic.
And off you go, Baltic.
Brett, but let's say if we take a scenario, let's say I'm a small business doing 10 million in turnover a year, and I don't really have anything at the moment. I've got a simple website which just hangs there. How would you define what it means to be digital and to be a digital company in your mind? Is it just having a website? What about LinkedIn? What about, like you said, YouTube? But then and then would you spread your marketing budget across those channels, or only do it on Google? And kind of what would you say for every small single man business is a realistic budget a year? I mean, could I get going for 20 grand a month for everything, 5 grand a month?
Yeah, I think, you know, 10 to 20 grand a month is probably more realistic. And I think you want to walk before you can run. And Baltic said, like, there are some fundamentals that you can do. And a lot of these fundamentals you can do DIY. I don't think you need to hire an agency for. Whereas, you know, the reason we position ourselves as the jack of all trades in Google is because out of all the touch points within the digital marketing realm, I personally believe that Google's the most complex. And I think, you know, and that's where you need professionals, and our offering is fundamentally underpinned, like yours, by technology that helps us do this at scale. So, you know, we've got our secret sauce and our IP, and you know, not to discredit any of the other channels, but you know, they're more content driven than data driven, and I think you can really do some of those channels yourself. But the Google piece, you know, time and time again from the conversation we're having, has proved too complex for business owners, and that's why we have a place in the market.
Brett, one quick one, just a question whether SearchKings builds websites for customers too.
Of course, 100%. I mean, you can't advertise online unless you have a website. So, like, it's fundamental to our offering. That's like, you know, you can't have cloud accounting unless you've got a software. So it's the gateway to getting online, and for sure, we're more than happy to. We've got a dedicated web department, and more than happy to assist guys there.
Thanks, Brett. We have a question from Eben Krier, who's asking about the percentage of spend of online marketing, you know, relative to your overall spend.
In the percentage of our fees relative to spend, is that what?
The business's total marketing spend, and percentage of that online.
I mean, I don't know. Maybe Valdic can give us a better understanding as an accountant there on how much companies should be dedicating in terms of their revenue as a percentage of spend. But you know, I think the best part about digital marketing, especially Google marketing, is because everything's trackable. Even ultimately your ability to reinvest if you're seeing results is a really powerful thing. So having access to data, and what differs from a billboard is you don't pay 50 grand for a billboard, you know, that you drive past it every day and then you hope that they will come. Google's an agile, live, real-time data-driven solution. So, you know, if you spend 5 grand today and you make 10 grand tomorrow, there's nothing stopping you come Monday to spend 15 grand to make 30 grand. So it's really is, because your access to data is in such real time. I think we've got to start moving away from putting a budget in on the 1st of January and then like coming to December and saying, right, guys, did we hit our budget? I think especially if you get the reporting right on a cloud accounting perspective, your budget should remain agile and fluid throughout the year based on measured success.
Mm. Look, I think I think Jevon's looking more at maybe just the cost percentages, that maybe something we could take offline. But as a general rule for small business, and not many businesses achieve it, I don't think we even achieve it. You should be looking to spend between 3 to 5% of your top line on marketing. Now, if you're a growing business, that should be going up to 10%. So those are big numbers, and I think most small businesses really underspend on marketing. And also we need to differentiate your marketing from haphazard, activities. So advertising in your school's son's school's newspaper, not really maybe real marketing. So I think many times people confuse different efforts as real marketing. But as you say, Brett, I think the beauty of what you're doing is that it's targeted, it's measurable, and you can adjust it quickly. It's not a long-term fixed spend. So if next month you find it's not working, you can turn a tap off and move it somewhere else. You haven't built a big billboard that's now going to sit for 2 years, and you say, shit, we put it in the wrong location. And I think that's the beauty of it. There's a question as well about influencers. It's become a big world now. You hear of the Kardashians making billions out of being influencers, and those billions are inflated. Is that something you recommend, or do you think it's just simply too expensive and it's still better bang for buck just to do good old kind of boosting and Google advertising?
I mean, I think it depends on your product and your industry. I mean, if you're a tax consultant, I don't think the fact that the Kardashians are using you is going to help you. But it's really dependent on the marketing. For certain brands, I think it has its place. But I think you've got to find the right digital marketing mix for your business. And I think, like, as I said, it's not one shoe fits all. And for some businesses, it'll be a mix of influencers, Google, Facebook, LinkedIn. And for other businesses, for a large proportion of the small businesses we help, their only marketing spend is on Google because it's a direct response marketing channel. If I'm in the market for a pool service in Sandton, I don't need to have an influencer saying that they're using my pool service, because I'm only going to look for that when I have a green pool. So I think you've got to really, as I say, it's not one shoe fits all, and you've got to find the right marketing mix for your business, and each of them does have a place.
Yeah, I'll share a quick story on that. I just want to alert everyone. Phil Broadbury from Pkf Littlejohn in London joined us this morning. Thanks, Phil. Phil has a very strong technology background. He just shared in the chat box 10 free Google SEO tools everyone can use. So there's the URL there, so people can just click on that just for a little bit of extra guidance. Brett, just on the question of influencers, and I know we're not talking about social media much today, but the points you make are very valid. In our business, with the bar side, so the bar and the restaurant, etc., there's perhaps an argument to be made that influencers can make a difference. And I think just the one caution I would have for the people on the webinar is, we often get approached by influencers, or people who claim to be influencers. So, you just also have to be careful. You need to understand what their impact is going to be. We sometimes support people, that they'll come for a free drink, and that's not a big cost to us, and it's okay. And if we get, 20 more people, following us and being aware of us, that's cool. But I think just be careful, how you define. Everyone's trying to be an influencer nowadays.
And it's a lot harder to measure. It's a lot harder to measure that.
Absolutely. Yeah, indeed.
Any more questions?
I think that was it.
That was it. All right.
And we are just over the hour. So Brett, any closing comments before I close?
Yeah, perfect. I mean, I think that we wouldn't have spoken about a gold rush if we didn't leave you with a golden nugget or a golden ticket. So I think I have to really thank Theo and Valdic and everyone else at Pkf Ignite for giving us the opportunity. And giving back is fundamental and one of our core principles. And Theo squeezed me good and hard. And what we've done, Kelly, if you can pop the our website into the chat. What we've done is we're offering anyone on the webinar a free 30-minute consultation with a Google Ads expert to just find out how best you can future-proof your business online. And we're also offering a pretty amazing special. If you sign a 6-month contract with us, we will give you the 6th month for free. So not to sign a 6-month contract, get all 6 months for free, just the month number 6. I mean, that would be a pretty good special, but we're we've also got to pay our bills. So please feel free to visit the website. Looking forward to reaching out. I hope it was an informative session. And Paddock and Theo, thanks so much for sharing the digital stage with me. And
Brett, thank you from our side. This has certainly been enlightening for me, and I hope for everyone else on the webinar. I would just like to thank everyone this morning for joining us. Brett, thanks for the prep and the work that went into this. Waldeck and your team, and of course Kelly, who you guys can't see, but who's responsible for making all the magic happen in the background. Thanks everyone. I hope you have a fantastic Thursday. I think it is Thursday, I've lost track. And a good weekend ahead. And onward and forward with your digital journey. And please do contact us if you guys need any assistance. The webinar will be made available as a recording to everyone. And thanks once again for your attention. Cheers, guys.
Cheers, guys.
Thank you, guys. Thank you.